Good morning. Please stand if you are able. We have come together as family. We have come here as we are. We have come with arms wide open. We have gathered here in love. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Raise your roof with shouts of praise. Spirit's in this place. We sing in celebration. We sing with words of prayer. We affirm our life is sacred. We declare that peace is here. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Raise your roof for shouts of praise. Spirit's in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Raise the roof with shouts of praise. Spirit's in this place.
Did anyone bring a knife today? I was thinking maybe we could cut the air. If it gets too bad, you're going to see me turn this thing on. Good morning, everyone. We begin, as always, with our affirmation for peace in the Middle East, which we say each week in solidarity with our Muslim and Jewish brothers and sisters, all of us people of the book. And so we greet one another. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Peace be upon you.
And upon you peace.
Shalom.
Alaikum shalom.
I think you all know that I am Reverend Michelle Vargas, and it is my joy and my honor to welcome you all this morning to Unity of Monterey Bay. As we embrace this new season of fall. Sorry. UMB is a beloved community co-created with love and intention that welcomes all people, all races, nationalities, cultures, and religions, whatever your immigration status, sexual orientation, gender identity, family configuration, and/or abilities. And whether you're here with us in person or you're joining us virtually, we know that love knows no boundaries and that we are one in spirit. As a purpose-driven church, Unity of Monterey Bay is an inclusive spiritual community committed to co-creating an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just, and compassionate human presence on this planet. We celebrate our oneness, and we honor the God of each of our understanding, affirming the innate good and the divine essence that we know is in every individual. So will you please join me now in our statement of faith? There is only one presence and one power in the universe, God the good, expressing as infinite God beyond us, intimate God beside us, inner God being us, divine love in action. And so it is. And we now allow this knowing to deepen within our souls and serve to awaken us into enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings. And we open with this Earth Blessing by Nancy Wood. Earth, teach me stillness as the grasses are stilled with light. Earth, teach me suffering as old stones suffer with memory. Earth, teach me humility as blossoms are humble with beginning. Earth, teach me caring as the mother who secures her young. Earth, teach me courage as the tree which stands all alone. Earth, teach me limitation as the ant which crawls on the ground. Earth, teach me freedom as the eagle which soars in the sky. Earth, teach me resignation as the leaves which die in the fall. Earth, teach me regeneration as the seed which rises in the spring. Earth, teach me to forget myself as melted snow forgets its life. Earth, teach me to remember kindness as dry fields weep with rain. So let us affirm together now. Thank you, God, for this most amazing day. Miracle follows miracle, and wonders never cease. And as we do each week, we now celebrate and bless our children, those in our spiritual community, in our families and neighborhoods, and our larger community, all the children around the world, as well as our own inner child. Opening our hearts wide and seeing them protected and resilient, creative and evolving, joyous and loved, as we join in our heartfelt blessing. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you just the way you are.
This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So now taking a deep breath in and letting it out with an audible sigh. Let's do that together. One more for the humidity. As we center ourselves to embrace this blissful inner connection with Spirit, and we invite the chime to call us into this sacred space within. We ring the chime 4 times to call in the 4 directions and to remind us of our interconnection with all of creation and with the sacred circle of life. As we feel it resonate through our very beings, we follow its call into this now present moment within. Focusing on our breath, with each inhale we open our hearts and minds. We envision our breath reaching every cell of our being. And with each exhale, we see all barriers and obstacles dissolving into the divine flow. And again, as we inhale, we expand the spaciousness within us. We move beyond the limitations and boundaries of our bodies. And as we exhale, we ground ourselves deep within Mother Earth and into our oneness with the universe. Finally, we breathe our awareness into the highest expression of love, light, joy, and peace we can imagine, as we experience a transforming wave of gratitude. And with a fullness of heart, we say yes to it all, embracing, claiming, and knowing the divine Christ Spirit expressing in, through, and as us. And so now with a final exhale, we say, thank you, God. Now fully centered and transformed by the power of Spirit, we enter into our lesson and meditation time with today's daily word. You could turn the light on, Linda.
No, it's okay. And the word is beloved. I am a beloved child of God, divinely created and dearly loved. If my mood is low, I remember I'm beloved of God. In quiet times of prayer and in mindful moments throughout the day, I attune to divine love and to my unique divine gifts that make me who I am. As I connect with my deepest self, I know I am loved just as I am, just as I was created. As I affirm the truth of my being, my mood lifts. I feel freer and lighter. I am wise and resilient. I'm confident and positive. I am strong and secure. I am loved and loving. Grounded in this awareness, I begin to feel my unlimited potential. I celebrate the presence of love and wisdom within myself, and I feel whole and complete. My mind opens and my heart expands. As I radiate love, it flows to me as blessings in abundance. And from the scriptures, here is my servant, whom I have chosen, my beloved, with whom my soul is well pleased. Matthew 12:18.
I am that I am has brought me to this now moment. Here I am. I am that I am has brought me to this now moment. Here I am to be the voice and to be the heart through which heaven is made known on earth. To be the voice and to be the heart through which heaven is made known on earth. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am.
In witness to the many paths to the sacred, we read from 4 sacred traditions on this morning's topic, rewilding our practice. From Native American spirituality, behold this buffalo, O grandfather, which you have given us. He is the chief of all 4-leggeds upon our sacred mother. From him the people live, and with him they walk the sacred path. It's a Sioux prayer. And from African traditional religions, the stream crosses the path crosses the stream. Which of them is the elder? Did we not cut the path to go and meet this stream? The stream had its origin long, long ago. It had its origin in the Creator. He created things pure, Tano. From an Ashanti verse from Ghana and the Ivory Coast. And from Judaism and Christianity, but ask the animals and they will teach you, or the birds in the sky and they will tell you, or speak to the earth and it will teach you, or let the fish in the sea inform you. Which of these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature and the breath of all mankind. Job 12:7-10.
How about that UMB choir? Okay, this is in the way. So, some of you know I live out by the airport, and it's sort of semi-wild. I mean, it's a subdivision, but there's wildness around. And the other night, my husband Paco and I were sitting in the living room when we started hearing this loud screeching. Now, my son is an amateur birder, so I now know way more about birds than I ever imagined I would know. And I knew that it was an owl. And I knew that it was probably a barn owl because they make that screeching sound. And so I went out to see what it was, and it sounded like it was right there in front of me, but I couldn't see because it was pitch black. So I went and got my husband. I said, come out and see this. And so he came out, and it started screeching again, and I was like, oh my God, it's right there. So my house was built in the 60s, and they thought it was a good idea back then to run I don't know if it's telephone or electrical wires. It swoops right down over my front lawn, like really low. And he was on the nearest wire. It was a barn owl. And he was just standing there looking at me, like looking straight, of course, me, right? And my husband, but me, really, no. And I was just, I talk to animals. I can't help it. I talk to banana slugs, everything. I talk to turkeys. I can't stop myself. It's like with babies, And I was like, look at you, so beautiful. It just was so stunning. I mean, it's a beautiful bird, right? They have this heart-shaped face. And so my husband shined a flashlight kind of on the lower part of him so as not to scare him, but so that we could see him, And so we got a good look at him, and he looked right at us, and then he went, and then, just opened up these enormous wings, and then just flew away. Well, I was pretty stunned. I mean, I've lived in that house for 28 years. That's the first time I've seen a barn owl like that close up to me. I immediately went inside and pulled out my animal medicine cards to see what owl represents and, what could this mean? Because this is a really unlikely thing, right? And then later that evening, I was, looking up on the internet, what does it mean when an owl visits you? And that night before bed, I did an owl meditation that I found online. So owls, as you can imagine, represent wisdom, the wise owl, but they also represent intuition. And because owls can see really well in the dark, better than us, they represent the ability to see and discern what others cannot see. And they also represent the ability to see what's in the shadow, to see that which is hidden and bring it into the light. So I thought that was pretty cool. And they can also represent clairvoyance and magic and premonition, all kinds of things. So usually when this happens, I'll read that and I'll try to see like what resonates with me. And I didn't really get a strong feeling about any of it. I mean, it's all wonderful, but I didn't get that thing of like, oh yeah, that's what it is. So I'm still working with that, and I'm still waiting, and I'm aware, and I'm listening. This is the essence of a spiritual practice that is rooted in deep connectedness with the natural world. A lot of folks might have just ignored it, right? Or thought that the screeching was irritating. It's a pretty irritating sound. Or that the owl was a pest or was disturbing their peace. But I see the owl as a fellow sentient being, as sacred kin, as a non-human other that is just as much an expression of divinity as I am. Probably more, really. And since owl is an expression of God, I believe that the voice of God can be heard through owl, just as it can be heard through other people. And so when this magnificent being speaks to me, I listen, and I will continue to listen. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been exploring what it means to engage in this practice of rewilding, a word which really just means to get back to our natural state, which of course is wild, and earth connected. It's to return to a sacred kinship with the natural world, to reclaim our true essence as belonging to an interconnected web of life on this beautiful green-blue planet. So we talked a couple weeks ago about rewilding our bodies, right? Which is, among other things, to become a little less mind and brain focused and a little more present in our bodies. To become embodied, as the sort of buzzword we've been using. And this embodiment is important because it helps us to access that deep wisdom that resides in our bodies and our own intuition, that non-brain kind of knowing. You know what I'm saying? And then we talked last week about rewilding our spirituality. Again, not a newfangled, new agey, outdoorsy REI kind of thing, but actually a return to ancient ways of locating the sacred in the natural world. This kind of spirituality is about working to restore our relationship with nature so that we come to understand ourselves as being a part of the sacred web of life rather than having dominion over it. Genesis notwithstanding, right? This is a faith of radical equality among beings and inclusion, where we honor the wisdom that can be found in the natural world, seeing and beholding all of it as an expression of divinity. And so today we're going to talk about rewilding our spiritual practice. So I'm going to share with you some spiritual practices that you can use should you choose to answer the earth's call. We talked a couple weeks ago about how the earth is at a time when it is calling us. It is calling us back into sacred relationship. So these are some things you can do should you choose to answer that call. And the practices that I'll be sharing with you are practices that are used by Church of the Wild groups all over the country. But you don't have to go to a Church of the Wild gathering to do these practices. Although there is definitely something powerful about gathering with other people who are also seeking to deepen their spiritual relationship with nature. Most of these books come from the Church of the Wild book, and they have also come out with a field guide to Church of the Wild. So that's where I got a lot of these things. So right off at the beginning of the book, the authors explain to us why these practices are so important. Even if we already shop at REI, even if we already love nature and we kayak and we hike and we spend a lot of time in nature, we still need spiritual practices that will help us to restore our connection of relationship with the natural world. So the authors say, as a species caught in a dominant culture of disconnection from one another and from the earth and from our own bodies, we need practices that root us back into the reality of our deep connection to the ecosystem. Unfortunately, our modern Western way of life largely favors disconnection with the earth, with one another, and with our own bodies, rather than connection. So we need intentional practices to restore that connection. Most Church of the Wild gatherings begin with an opening practice that involves both grounding to connect us with the earth, the land, and its inhabitants, as well as embodiment to become more present in our own bodies. And again, these are practices that you can absolutely do on your own whenever you want or when you are preparing for your own time of connecting with nature. Now, grounding, you probably already know a little bit about what this means. Grounding involves getting settled, often in a seated position, but it doesn't have to be. Feeling your feet solidly placed on the ground, feeling the places that your body is making contact with the seat beneath you, that it's supporting you. That begins to bring you into your body. And then what you can do for a grounding practice is begin to imagine that there are roots growing out of the bottoms of your feet and out of the base of your spine. And imagine them going down, down, down into the earth, through all the layers of the earth's crust until they reach the core of the earth. And then I always imagine it like a little, it just like tethers there. Okay, I don't know if you all got the handout, but everything I'm covering today is going to be in the handouts. Okay, just want to let you know that. So on your way out, and guess what I did? I made one with small print and one with bigger print. So you can choose if you want a small one to stick in your purse or you want a bigger one. So all of this is going to be in there for you to practice with. So this practice of imagining roots going down can help you feel, it's amazing. It sounds like not that big of a deal, but it really works, right? And it can make you feel more centered, more connected, more literally deeply rooted. You could also imagine that you're a tree. We love trees. And that you're a tree that is deeply rooted in the earth and that you're standing tall. Another way of getting grounded to the land, wherever you are, and remember, any place that you go and do a sacred practice is a sacred place. Okay, it doesn't have to be a state park. It doesn't have to be the Grand Canyon. It could be a crack in the sidewalk where a flower is coming through. It's all nature, okay? No, I lost where I was. Okay, so the next thing that you can do to get really connected to the land is taking some time to notice the many plants, animals, birds, and insects that you are sharing that space with at that time, the ones that live there. Now, there's obvious ones if there's a blue jay squawking, but try to notice the not so obvious ones. What else can you see? Can you see a dragonfly? Can you see a butterfly? What kinds of birds are you hearing? And then what you can do is intentionally acknowledge that it is their land too, that they live there. We have a choice to come and go, but we're going into their house, right? And so in Church of the Wild, we take this step where we vow to honor their space with respect and care. It's just a way of being mindful and intentional. And if you're doing this practice on your own, like I said, you could just look around and see if you can name 5 species. And species are anything, really, right? Or 10 species of whatever you can see around you. So the reason this is important, and we have fun with this in Church of the Wild, I was for a while pulling names of species off of this website that seems to have gone defunct now, so I'm going to have to find a new source for this. But I would be like, the dusty-footed wood rat. I'd come up with all these different species that we have in the area. And the reason we do this is to get out of our human-centric mindset that says, oh, I'm the human, I'm the only one, humans are the only ones around here, we're the only ones that count. When you start to literally think that you are in their home, it begins to shift your perspective. In the book, the authors mention, I love this, the trees and animals and other beings are already fully present and grounded. They wait for us to join them. So we are joining them in the state that they live in naturally. Okay, so after doing some grounding practice and getting oriented to the land, another practice is that embodiment, becoming intentionally more present in your body. And especially if you've come from somewhere else, it can take a few minutes of intentional practice to leave behind all of that busyness and the worries and concerns of our material existence. But we have to take that time to do that, to set aside our overactive brains and become more grounded in our bodies. A really powerful way to get grounded in our bodies is to focus on our senses. So wherever you are, in your spot in nature, you can just begin to check in with your senses. What can I see? What colors? Remember I told you a few weeks ago I became obsessed with all the different shades of green? Wow, you can really trip out on that. Start checking in. What can I see? What can I hear? If you want to and it's safe, close your eyes. I notice that when I close my eyes, all of a sudden my other senses wake up. They're like, oh, hello. All of a sudden I can hear things that I couldn't hear when my eyes were open. See what you can smell. See what you can taste. If you're down by the ocean, maybe you're going to smell the stinky sea lions. Ooh, they're stinky. Or maybe you can taste the salt in the air or feel some of the spray. What can you feel and touch and taste and smell and see and hear? So tuning into your senses will get you more grounded in your body and begin to open yourself to that wisdom and that deep knowing that your body and your senses already contain. And in the book, they note practices of grounding stimulate ways of knowing that are rooted in our bodies rather than in our minds. Another thing, of course, that you can do if you're comfortable with it is to take off your shoes and let your feet make actual contact with the ground, with the earth. And whether that's dirt or sand or rocks or earth or whatever it is, or water, could be water. Now, they're calling this earthing now. It used to just be called taking off your shoes. Now it's got a technical name, earthing. But this is a great practice. And if you can't or don't want to take off your shoes, you can just put your hands on the ground. But make contact somewhere with the earth and hold that for just a little bit so that you have a chance to connect with the earth. And all of those good, the electromagnetic whatever stuff, the stuff that's good for you. We know it's good for us, right? So that actual tactile contact with the earth can help us, if we do it regularly, help us to sync up a little bit more with the natural rhythms of the earth. Another practice, and we do this in Church of the Wild, is to intentionally open yourself to the presence of the divine in whatever place in nature that you find yourself. Now, in a church service, we call this an invocation, right? It's when we invoke the presence of God. Now, we know that it's not like we invoke it and God goes, oh, okay, I'm going to show up. I mean, God is already there, right? So it's kind of backwards. We're invoking it, but we're actually invoking our awareness of it because it's already there. So I just want to share with you an example of a wild invocation. And this was written by Mary Abna of the Wild Edge Offerings. That is the name of their group in Brights Grove, Ontario. We gather together in this wild cathedral where there are no walls or windows to separate us from the land on which trees breathe and plants transform, the sunlight, where the spirited elements dance and desire to tousle our hair and plant on our skin, where everlasting cycles of birth and death and birth again are engraved in the seasons' turnings, with abundant gratitude and openness, quiet hearts and wandering souls, we pay attention as our senses reveal their ancient knowing and call this sacred. Isn't that beautiful? So this is just being intentional about opening to that presence. And then, of course, another awesome practice that you can do anytime or anywhere, and this is usually part of a Church of the Wild gathering, is mindful listening. Okay? Nature lends itself to listening because there's so many sounds. And so in this type of listening, we're acknowledging the sacredness of the place that we are in, and we are acknowledging the presence of God, of the divine, in and through all of it. So we're listening to that. We're listening to the voice of God, if you will. We're listening for the wisdom of Spirit to speak to us through the natural world, whose presence we are already in. And in the book they said, grounding, I love this, Rory would have liked this. Grounding involves soul to soil or soul, like the sole of your foot, to soil. Soul to soul, soul to soil. Listening to the earth with your whole body, sensing with your heart, and awakening your intuition to be open to the quiet presence of the sacred in and between all things. Perhaps the most important practice or the most distinctive practice that is part of most wild church gatherings is that the same amount of time that would normally be dedicated to a minister's sermon, 15, 20, 25 minutes, is instead dedicated to a time of contemplative wandering, of solo sauntering, in which people are given the opportunity to connect individually with the plants, trees, birds, and other beings that are present in the place where they are meeting. This is really what sets a Church of the Wild gathering apart from just doing church outside, right? This is something totally different. So I'm giving a sermon right now. When you go out there, the natural world is going to give the sermon. Again, this is about having an intentional practice. And I love it. They call it terra divina, which means sacred earth. And it's sort of meant to mirror other contemplative practices like lectio divina or visio divina. Those are contemplative practices. So this is terra divina, sacred earth. And again, as with all of these practices, you don't have to come to Church of the Wild to do this. You can do this on your own or with others. The difference is that in Church of the Wild, after we're done with that time, we come back together and we share the experiences that we've had. So then it's magnified because we get to enjoy one another's experiences. So the purpose of this terra divina, this wild sauntering, is to have an opportunity to enter into holy conversation with the natural world. So this is not taking a hike, right? This is something in a much more spiritually intentional way. In a sense, it's like quiet, mindful walking, but it's so much more than that. We are intentionally desiring to connect and to listen and to engage with nature. Now, I have to admit that when I first planned this and tried it. Were you there, Pat, the first time? I think you were. The first time I was going to try this out with the Church of the Wild group, I was like, oh, God, are they going to think this is really dumb? Like, what are we doing? We're wandering around. They came back after 20 minutes, and they had all had the most amazing experiences. So for me as a facilitator, I'm just holding the container. You can do this anytime, right? But when you want to have an experience or a mystical encounter, you want to engage, you got to do some laying the groundwork to facilitate having that kind of an experience. So that's what we're doing. So what makes this different than just walking quietly in nature? Terra Divina just brings more structure or more intentionality to it. So they recommend, and again, this is on the sheet that you can take with you. They recommend that you begin with a crossing the threshold. And we've kind of gotten out of this practice in Church of the Wild, but maybe we need to get back to it. You think, Christine? So it's this idea, and it's an internal process. You could lay down a stick or a leaf or something, and then you step over it. It's just the symbolic, okay, now I'm stepping. It's like when a minister comes up and puts on their, we don't do that here, but puts on their stole or puts on their vestments. You're saying, okay, I'm stepping into sacred space. And so you do that, intentionally setting this aside as a sacred practice. And then you simply begin to wander and you just allow yourself, so this is really intuitive. You just allow yourself to be drawn to whatever you're drawn to. And this is where we get to have a little battle sometimes with our egos and ourselves that like want to create an experience. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, is it happening yet? Is it happening? Like, you know? And so we have to work at not doing that. Because God's voice, the voice of the sacred, of the divine, is not necessarily going to come in the form that we're used to, right? It's going to come in deeper ways of knowing, and it might not occur to us right away. So you have to try not to force any kind of experience to happen, but just go with it. And then if you feel called to something, a tree or a bird or whatever it is, Regina had an amazing experience with some lichen. Do you remember that? I can't remember what it was, but the lichen gave her some really deep wisdom. It was really cool. So when you feel that you are being drawn to something, you ask permission to engage in holy conversation. Now again, this is an internal process, but it's about reverence, right? It's about not tromping into nature and going, okay, tree, you know what I'm saying? It's about coming from a very reverent place. May I engage with you? Just as you wouldn't like tromp up to a person and start talking to them, right? And so you ask permission. And then if you have a question or something, you can pose a question. Or if there's something that's on your heart, or there's something that you're looking for, or maybe it's open-ended. Maybe there's an answer that you're seeking to something that day, or, you know, like I say, maybe it's just going to be an open-ended conversation. And then you simply listen. And it's that deep listening that I was talking about, where we're listening not just with our minds, but with our whole bodies. with our senses, with our intuition. And we might think that we're not getting anything because this is a different type of conversation and it's a different type of knowing and understanding. Now, it takes time and practice to learn to engage in holy listening to the natural world. It takes time for us to learn how to disengage our analytical thinking brains and allow that deeper awareness and knowing to emerge. But once you feel complete with the process, you can choose to write about it in your journal or to share it with someone else. Sometimes you have like an aha and you want to, make sure you record it or get it down so you don't forget it. And then always we end with gratitude. And I don't know about you, but when I'm in nature, gratitude just bubbles up naturally. It's just like, wow. So grateful for all of this. Thank you for making air for me to breathe. Ugh. Thank you for growing food in your earth so that I can eat. Thank you for, this amazing owl that showed up at my door. Thank you. So that natural gratitude, giving thanks to whoever or whatever we have engaged with that day for the wisdom that we've gotten from them, from the message that we've gotten from them. And then here's a beautiful prayer of gratitude by Wendy Jansen of the Burning Bush Forest Church in Kitchener, Ontario. We give thanks this day for the sun, moon, and stars lighting our way, illuminating beauty, energizing all life. We give thanks this day for the ground beneath us, solid rock and living soil, foundation and fertility, supporting and sustaining. We give thanks this day for the water of life, rain and rivers, oceans and glaciers, flowing and hydrating. We give thanks this day for sky, air, and wind, animating breath, sacred interchange, inspiring and connecting. For all four elements and the ways they work together, for all creatures, for all places, for life and death, we offer our deepest gratitude to Creator of all. And so then after you've expressed gratitude, to close the practice, as we stepped over the threshold, we're going to step back, right? So there's an official returning. Again, if you try to do this practice on your own of Terra Divina, please realize that this is an art that takes time to be cultivated. And if you're not used to having a conversation with a blue jay, although I know that Marianne is with crows, it may take time to learn how to have a conversation with a blue jay and how to listen so that we can hear that beautiful voice of spirit. And that's essentially what we're listening to. The voice of spirit as it can be heard through that plant or that animal or whatever it is. Again, unity's first principle. If all of nature is an expression of God, made of the same stuff that we are, the same stuff that the stars are made of, then everything has its own divine wisdom. Why wouldn't we seek divine wisdom in nature, right? Let it come to you in a natural, non-forced, organic way. And you will find your own way of engaging with nature as you do this practice. So these are just some of the many practices that you can use to get more connected with nature, to learn to locate the sacred in the natural world, and to tune into the voice of spirit that can be heard on the wind and in the calling crow and in the quiet stoicism of the redwood tree. So I hope that you will either come to Church of the Wild or try out some of these practices on your own or with others. I believe that we each come to find practices that resonate most deeply with us. So again, they've sort of mirrored like what a church service would be like, and at the end of a lot of church services, they give a benediction. So I'm going to end today with this wild benediction. May the spirit of the abundant earth awaken you to live in the knowledge that you are of the earth, from the earth, and returning to the earth. May the tree of life rise up in you, root you deeply into the ground, and nourish you to extend your branches out into the world. blessings of the earth, of the great conversation that holds all things together, be upon you with boundless gratitude. Amen.
Tall trees, warm fire, strong winds, deep waters. I feel it in my body and feed it to the source. Tall trees, warm fire, strong winds, deep waters. I feel it in my body and feed it to the source.
So we have an opportunity to try out just a little bit of this. So just getting, as always, comfortable in your seat and allowing outer distractions to fade away and beginning to bring your awareness into your body. Noticing what your body feels like this morning, the shape of your body, the weight of your body resting on the seat, and feeling your feet planted flat on the floor if possible. And just finding an awareness of your breath. Where do you feel the breath in your body? Do you feel the gentle expansion in your belly each time you inhale? And the gentle falling on the exhale? Or do you feel it at the nostrils? The cool air coming in as you inhale, and the warmer air going out as you exhale. Just continue to breathe in and breathe out as you settle more deeply into this time, this moment, and this sacred body temple. And then you can begin to imagine that roots are sprouting out from the bottoms of your feet, from the base of your spine, from the backs of your legs, whatever feels right to you, and the roots can look like anything you want. Imagine them going down, down, down into the earth, going through the soil and rocks, through all the layers of the earth's crust, through the molten layers down into the core, and see the roots tethering there as you allow your mind to drop down into your heart space. Feel yourself connected to the earth. Feel the earth's cleansing, rejuvenating, nourishing energy coming up through those roots into your body to nourish every cell of your being. And you can even imagine that you're a tree, any kind of tree that you like. And imagine that you can embody those qualities of the tree, standing tall, patient, steadfast, connected, unwavering, resilient, And allow yourself to have all of those qualities in yourself. And see those roots beginning to spread not only down into the earth, but out to the sides. As we know now that trees' roots spread out to connect with the roots of other trees and bushes and plants, and with the roots of the fungus. And they connect together and form this great web of interconnection and stability and interdependence and mutual aid. And know that you may not have roots like a tree, but you also are interconnected with all that is, interdependent with all life. All of nature is your sacred kin. So I invite you to rest for just a moment, just enjoying that experience of being connected with all your relations, with all beings, in the silence.
Tall trees, warm fire, strong winds, deep waters. I feel it in my body and feed it to the source. Tall trees, warm fire, strong winds, deep waters. I feel it in my body and feed it to the source.
So you can either choose to draw those roots up now or to remain rooted down into the earth, but bringing this time to a close with our hearts filled with gratitude for the wisdom that we have received this day from the tree, from the roots, from nature, from all the expressions of divinity that are all around us. We are so grateful. And we say thank you, thank you, thank you, Spirit. And so it is. Amen.
Well, we've come to a time in our service where we get to demonstrate how much we love God as we see God in nature by contributing treasure and talent to our Unity community. We know that prosperity is a state of mind that finds blessings in every situation and abundance in joyous generosity. We transform all appearances of fear and lack into faith-filled peace of mind by shifting our attention to thoughts of gratitude for the abundance of God's good in our lives. And I just have to share a little true story before the ushers come forward. So when I was a little girl, home life was difficult and often frightening and sometimes dangerous. But fortunately, my bedroom was near the back door. So if it got too bad, I would quietly sneak out the back door. This is after dark, sometimes quite late. And I would either go to the frog pond, which was quite close to the house, and sit and listen to the crickets and the frogs. And I was little, I was 5, 6 years old, something like that. Or I would go down to the oak tree, my friend the oak tree, and I would climb into its broad branches and lay there and listen to the sounds of the night. I always felt safe and warm and even in my pajamas and cared for. I didn't realize it then But of course, I was going out to be grounded. And I was grounding. And it gave me the strength to get through the night and the strength to get through the next day. So thank you so much for this talk, because it's reminded me that while it came naturally when I was 5 or 6, I have to do it intentionally now. So ushers, please come forward. Now I invite you to think of something you're grateful for in this moment. And with our hearts and minds overflowing with gratitude, we breathe into the divine flow of God's good, trusting that we are enough, that we have enough, and that there always is enough, both to have and to share. For those of you who give online through our website or have set up monthly auto payments or your bank or give by credit card, we are very grateful. We ask that you join us in faith and gratitude as we pass the offering basket this morning by holding and blessing the basket as it passes to you. And now, please join me in our offertory blessing. I am an open channel for God's infinite good. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies everything I give and everything I receive. I am both blessed and a blessing. Thank you, God.
In this Czech folk song, Stoda la Pumpa, the word pumpa is used in the phrase barn pump, but its meaning is more about the joyful motion of a quickly pumping a water pump rather than the literal device. But it also serves as a nonsensical chant. So as we sing this song, try to imagine yourself out trekking in the mountain and the mountain tops and all the joy that you feel in your body. Stoda la Pumpa.
So it is with great joy that we bless and give thanks for these gifts and offerings that demonstrate our collective commitment to the spiritual work of love and transformation in our lives and in our world. We dedicate this offering, our lives, and this ministry to more fully expressing the Christ light that is the truth of our being and inviting all people to know God's love. Finally, knowing that one with God, all things are possible, we affirm together, the good is now, the rest is blessed, and the best is yet to be in our lifetime, gently. Thank you, ushers. For our music today, we want to thank Mark Weston, Tony Wrench, Sherry Porterfield, and Fanny Stearns Davis, Charlie Thweet, and Denise Rosier. And of course, once again, our UMB choir and our awesome choir director and music minister, Denise Hedlund.
Yay for that choir. That was good. 8 people in the choir today. But wow, wasn't that great?
That
so
was
much
fun. That was so fun. Denise is awesome. She could get rocks to sing. She could. Yeah. And sing in tune. For announcements today, just real quickly, this Friday is our banquet.
Yay!
Wow. I hope everyone is coming. If you haven't signed up yet, but you want to attend, you can still sign up today and or email Vicki, just so that, by tomorrow, I guess. Email Vicki by tomorrow. And pay today. Okay. All right. And any auction items that you were thinking about bringing in, make sure you do that today and give them to Martha. Okay, that's it for auction? For banquet? Okay. Church of the Wild is actually, I don't know if she put next Sunday, but it's today. Oh, okay. Here it says next Sunday. Sorry. Okay, so it's today at 2 o'clock at Via Paraiso. And next Sunday, we're going to have our guest speaker that we've had a couple of times before, Reverend Dahlia Adams. She is going to be coming and doing a lesson on compassion. Afterwards, we'll have sort of a potluck lunch real quick, and then there will be a workshop from 12 to 2. Do we have the name of the workshop? It's something about compassion. Compassion is calling. Okay. So, and of course, all are welcome to attend, and there's going to be a suggested love offering of $20, but as always, don't let that stop you from attending. Okay, I think that's everything. So as we bring our service to a close, we're just so glad that you've joined us, whether you're here in person or you're joining us on Facebook Live or watching us later on our YouTube channel. We're glad you found us. We hope we made you feel at home in our Unity community. And most importantly, we want you to know that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Our chaplain today is Sue. Sue is available to pray with you after the service. So thank you, Sue, for that, and all of our prayer chaplains for holding the high watch for our church, for our community. So before we form our circle, let's do our responsive reading for our nation. We believe in the sacred potential of our country and the divine intelligence guiding its path.
We affirm that wisdom, compassion, and justice are rising in the hearts of all people.
In a world that cries out for healing, we listen deeply for spiritual truth.
We open to the wisdom that leads to wholeness for all.
We do not surrender to fear, division, or despair.
We anchor ourselves in faith, courage, and shared humanity.
We call forth leaders who are guided by integrity and vision.
We affirm solutions that uplift both personal freedom and collective care.
May this nation grow in love, unity, and awakening.
And may we each be instruments of peace, justice, and joy.
May it be so. And all the people said, Amen. Let's form our closing circle. So since we're am I on? Yeah. Am I on?
You're on.
Am I here? Who am I? since we're talking about nature, let's just take this time today to hold nature in this loving circle. Knowing that so much of nature is suffering and being depleted and species going extinct, and so we grieve with the earth, even as we celebrate its strength and resilience. The wolves are back in Yellowstone. If that can happen, then anything can happen. The sea otters are back in the Monterey Bay. The sea lions are stinking up the... No, sorry. So we just hold our beloved planet Earth and all of its inhabitants in our hearts and in this loving prayerful circle as we join in our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, that we all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Yeah.
Yes, bravo! Wasn't that fun? Oh my God, that song's gonna be stuck in my head forever. Stop it! Stop it, Devin! Ah, stop it! Oh my God, I recorded it. Yeah, they're all. I take them all,
Okay.
and then I charge them.